Hello and welcome to another Project Cars 2 video and Oulton Park International. Coming up in today's video, I'll be driving the 1991 BMW M3. We're setting a fast lap and then we'll be taking a slower drive around the circuit where I point out a few lines through some of the corners. We'll have a look over the setup and finally check out the replay. So let's get cracking. So with the lap out of the way, let's get into this setup and take a look at some of these changes and why I've made them. So looking over the tyre pressures, instantly you'll see the front tyre pressures are much higher than the rear. Obviously we're just trying to get this rear end grip. Obviously you can notice that the car oversteers quite a bit on corner entry and exit, so getting that rear tyre pressure drop down just to assist in any sort of oversteer. The brake pressure is something that you're going to be running yourself, that's something personal to yourself, and obviously through adjusting the brake balance, if you take it more towards the 50-50 sort of region, you'll notice the car just oversteers on corner entry, and if you go the other way 60-40, you'll notice it understeers quite a bit, so you're just trying to find a balance. The brake ducts are just open just to get some air, and the rear aero balance just to try and get some rear end grip through some of the corners, but not cause too much of an effect on the long straights. So the caster angle, I did run it at 6.5 for a while, but just felt like it just didn't seem too responsive through some of the corners. It felt like the steering was just too heavy, and the camber angle's set just to get that front end grip, especially through some of the tighter corners, just to dial out some of that front end understeer. And you'll notice that the ride height is running a little bit lower at the front than it is at the rear. It's dropped as low as it can at the front, just raised 10mm at the rear. And the spring rates, just running softer on the rears to try and eke out some of the oversteer. The steering ratio, as per usual, I'm running the McLaren GT3 wheel, so I just want a really small steering ratio so I'm not taking my hands off the wheel or crossing my hands at any point. And the toe angles and the anti-roll bars were set from a previous setup, so I didn't really change these. Looking at the dampers, I made quite a few changes to the dampers, just trying to run a slightly softer setup. There's so much undulation on this circuit, it bounces around quite a lot, especially over some of the curbs, so just trying to soften out some of the suspension rebound so it can be a little bit smoother as it comes up and over a lot of the curbs. This was an area I just try out quite a few settings and just found a sweet spot, I think. The air restrictions, no air restrictions, and closed out radiator, and running a slightly bit of engine braking just to assist in turning the car. And again, the gear ratios, you can't really adjust these too much. as I would have liked to have extended third gear a tiny bit, but you can't really do that. It just drops it down to another fourth gear. And I am running ABS on this car. I don't know why, but it is set at 75, but you don't particularly notice it because it locks up quite easily. So whether it is actually running any ABS, I'm not quite sure. And the power ramp and preload angles, just adjusted these slightly. Obviously, if you use a lower power ramp, you're going to find that you've got more oversteer coming out of some of the corners. So just increase this if you're struggling to control the rear end of the car. If you bring it more towards the 90 region, you'll find that the car oversteers much less on corner exit. And that's the setup, guys. So let's get on with driving around the circuit and seeing where we can better our lines through some of the corners. So starting out the lap, I will just explain that I am using a manual shifter to shift up through the gears, and I'm using the paddle shifts on the wheel to come down through the gears. It's a much quicker gear change, especially from some of these older cars that are just running H-pattern gearboxes. Obviously, if you're using a sequential gearbox, it's far quicker to use the paddles, but for now I'm using the manual shifters to shift up. So coming into turn 1, I'm going to brake between the two boards just on the left hand side there and stay neatly on the right hand side, getting as close to this curb as we can and powering out in third gear up into fourth gear. And then as we come over the rise of the hill, you'll notice a little dip in the tarmac, and as this dips down, we're just going to take a little drop down into third gear. Not sure if I can remember if we drop into second gear, but just really hugging this curb nice and tightly. You'll have to just watch on the replay once again, and then flat out along the straight, up into fourth gear, bouncing on the limiter of fourth gear, never changing up into fifth. Take a little release and then hug this curb, take a tiny nick of the curb just to keep it nice and tight, and then as the tarmac changes colour just there, just dropping down into second gear and just taking like a real middle apex there, and then powering out up into third gear. We'll stay in third gear for this section, and then we're going to take a nice stab on the brakes as we initially come into this corner, release the brakes midway through, another stab of the brakes to get the car to turn, and then flat out. Don't be too eager through that corner to carry lots of speed or you'll end up running wide. Another section for me, this is the trickiest section on the circuit to try and maintain good traction. Braking at the pink board back there, and then taking it nice and easy. Take some curb through that corner and take a nice tight line, and then just really gentle on the accelerator as you come out through this section. As you can see in this how not to do it section, if you fancy drifting through this corner, it's just going to eke out so much time as you just lose lots of traction. You just need to be really nice and fluid through this section, not too much oversteer and not too much drifting. Powering out along the straight here, we're going to be coming into another nice fast section of the circuit where we're going to take a little drop down into third gear as you see the little sunlight on the track back there, and then just staying as neat as you can through that section, not running too wide. Final section coming up just at the pink board on the right hand side there, we're going to brake down into second gear. Don't take any curb on this because it just causes the car to bounce and lose traction, and then powering out up the hill and across the line to finish the lap. And for all those that enjoy a good replay, here's one coming up. So as always, thanks for watching guys, if you stuck it out to the end. I'd just like to thank all my subscribers that come back time and time again to watch the videos. And if you haven't yet subscribed, I've noticed looking at some of the analytics on the YouTube video that I've got over 90% of my viewers haven't yet subscribed. So please hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, and as always leave a comment. I do enjoy discussing any points about the lap with any of my viewers. And as always, until next time, ciao for now.